Hello. Sorry, I was like, oh no, I got distracted for a second and I was like, oh, what is that? So, hello. Oh, actually, it only hears me. Oh no.
That was not a mic that I plugged in. It was the headphones. Uh, okay. Can you hear me now? Possibly, hopefully, maybe.
Give it a second.
What's
There we go.
upsetting is that it was working earlier when it was just Discord, and then as soon as I go live, it decides not to work. I don't want to. I don't want to jump into the stream without knowing if it works. Okay, so I had it. I had the headphones plugged in back here, and then I plugged them in down here.
You didn't record anything to see if it was working?
We were doing it on Discord, so I just hit go live because I assumed.
Yeah.
But and the lavalier is showing up.
So Becca, I can hear you on the stream.
Oh, good. Okay. So it was just the headphone thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
And it caught Bo.
Meow. Bo, who Wirecast thinks doesn't exist, so it tries to cut him out of the stream. Okay, so what are we doing tonight?
Well, I'm hanging out in my office while I'm watching you swatch.
And I'm about to unbox something that you sent about a week ago. And
Yes.
I'm pretty excited about this. So, give us the backstory while I cut it open. What am I opening, and why is it special?
So, what I managed to get my hands on is a few tubes of the YInMn
Wait,
Blue.
you got
produced
more
by...
than one tube?
Oh yeah, well,
I thought you
yes.
got one tube.
I got myself a tube. So I got one for myself and one for you.
I thought you just sent me a sample.
So
Oh!
there, and there's also some resin goodies in there.
Yeah, ooh. Dang.
But well, yeah.
That's seriously dang. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. But long story short, I got my hands on some YInMn Blue through Golden's Custom Lab, and they had tubes of YInMn Blue in their Qor watercolor format available for $14 a tube.
So, for reference, this is their standard size. This is the 11 milliliter, and this is like what, 5 milliliter?
Yes, that is a 5 milliliter tube. So it is a bit smaller, and you know, it is a little bit more expensive. But YInMn Blue is, I believe, the first new synthetic blue pigment that has been created in over 200 years.
Yeah. I think the last was. I actually have show notes. I think the last was Prussian blue.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, creating new colors is actually incredibly difficult.
Mhm.
Because
Oh yeah.
basically, you're messing. At this point, you're messing with particle size, how the eye perceives color.
Yes. Um, and so YInMn Blue was actually developed. I think I don't know the entire story behind it, but it was developed at Oregon State University by a professor by the name of Mas Subramanian, um, who is a chemist, and he's actually got quite a lot of papers and a lot of work behind his name. Um, but he accident. My
It's so
understanding,
cute.
it's that the fact that it is a pigment was kind of an accident, but a happy one at that.
So,
Uh,
from what I'd read, it said that he was actually hoping to create a red at first, and that the
yes,
blue was kind of a surprise.
yes, and it turned out to be it is a really nice blue for my own swatches. Also, those little resin things, they're very nice
I think it already turned out
and
really good.
sparkly. Yeah. they're using that tiny little mini palette thing, and then those were just like tiny little palettes.
You filled them anyway. See, I have been using, because I got the same mold. I've been using it. Ooh, these turned out. What? You'll have to tell me later what resin you're using, because I've been using Amazing Clear Cast, and even with no additives, it's flexy, and these are like nice and rigid.
I'm using art resin,
Okay.
so yeah.
Yeah, art resin has a lot of great resources online. But sorry, we were talking about YInMn Blue.
But the resin is
It,
distracting, and
it is
it's very
it's
nice too.
pretty.
Yeah, I mean, you could put the YinMn Blue in that.
I could.
So those were actually some leftovers from when I was making dice.
Yeah.
So fun times.
You raise the audio.
Can I raise the audio?
Yeah, make
Yep.
sure you raise both emails then.
Yep.
Oh yay!
Okay, hopefully that's better.
I'm gonna do it a little bit
A
more.
little bit more?
A little bit.
You should
Okay.
be like entering the yellowish.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, these little palettes are really neat because it allows you to send not insignificant samples, but not like a full half pan, which is what I was sending before.
Yeah. Also, Calvin mentioned that YinMn Blue is a bit duller than Ultramarine. Actually, so yes, it's not nearly as bright as Ultramarine, but I also find it personally to be more like Cobalt than
Yeah,
Ultramarine.
that's what I've
So
seen a lot. So I'm going to share the show notes. Oh, I was going to try to share the show notes. Well, I will link the doc with my show notes in the chat. But the closest comparison does seem to be to like a cobalt.
yes,
And I've
yeah,
read that the photos of it don't really show what the color actually looks like.
yeah. That has actually been my experience when photographing it. Because quite honestly, my camera is just like, I don't know what to do with this, and when it tries to capture it, it probably does some brightness adjusting
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't figured out how to turn off yet.
I will do
I
my
prob-
best to accurately capture this color, but my webcam does not have the best color accuracy
Yeah,
either.
yeah, but it's so it might be it's a little duller, but honestly, I think it's a better comparative to Cobalt
Which is the
than
one I
Ultramarine.
don't have.
Yeah,
I
well, I
have
mean, happens.
I have a bunch of core blues to compare it to. I have ultramarine, I have phthalo green shade, French ultramarine, ultramarine blue violet, Idanthorone blue, Prussian blue, cerulean blue chromium, and French cerulean blue. But the one I don't have is cobalt.
Well, that's okay.
So, what else makes YInMn Blue really special?
Um, well, that's a good question. Really, I just like it because it granulates a lot. Also, Joseph noted you may need to raise your audio.
Sure thing.
Sorry,
No, that's fine. I
just
wasn't
like
sure if that
all
was
over the place.
closer.
Um,
Okay, hopefully that's better.
yeah.
So,
But so I really find that one of the strengths of YinMn Blue is that it granulates a lot. Um, and that's a quality that I personally love in my paints.
mm-hmm. Yeah, you
Um,
definitely prize granulation.
oh yes.
So,
Mostly because it just makes a wonderful sort of effect that's nearly unpredictable. So,
so if you don't mind, I am going to read some of my show notes to you guys.
yes.
The notes that I took to prep for this. So it's the first new blue in 200 years. It was discovered in 2009, and it was finally approved by the EPA for artist material use in May of 2020. So it took 11 years to get that approval. And the creator, Subramanian, I apologize for my pronunciation, admits that color is part of a spectrum, so you can't really discover a color. You can only discover a material that is a particular color, which is why we were kind of talking about particle size regarding pigment a moment ago. So the camera tries to force it towards ultramarine, but several of the sources that I read said it's a more unique blue with granulating properties similar to smalt, just like Kabocha said. So it is known as B10G513 commercially, and it's been available for industrial applications since 2017. And it's prized for its ability to keep objects cool even when exposed to the sun. So its main application right now is in industrial uses. It is also non-toxic, which cadmiums and cobalts cannot claim that. And I know we're not going to be eating our paint, but we do dump the water from our paints down the drain, so it does end up back in our drinking water, at least in the US. So having a non-toxic alternative is great, and it's more durable than Prussian blue because Prussian blue does have a tendency to be kind of light fugitive. So it's available as a pigment from Kramer and Golden, and you caught the pre-order. That was like a few months ago. That was like in the middle of 2020.
No, actually, I caught it in March.
All the way up.
All the way up?
Yeah.
Hold on.
We can barely hear you.
Oh, no.
No, that is Sam's audio. That needs to be a little bit lower.
The lav is all the way up.
Are you sure it's
It is.
feeding in from the lab?
Well, I mean, the lav is plugged in. Sorry about that, guys. Anytime it's important, there's always going to be 1 billion technical issues. The lavalier is all the way pushed in. Oh, actually. Hopefully this is
The
better.
joys.
Sorry. I had it attached to my desk. So sorry about that, y'all. ID10T error tonight. Never fails.
It's the joys of live streaming.
It is the joys of live streaming. If anything's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong live. So, you said March of 2020?
No, March of 2021.
Oh,
I caught
okay.
so I knew that Golden was producing it producing it as a paint last year because I read about that on Just Paint. However, I was like, where am I gonna buy it? I want this. So I was kind of gremlining, and in March the itch bit again, and so I was like, all right, let's go looking, and I found it on Golden's website.
And this sold out really fast. Like they were filling back orders for a while with this.
Well, not really. So what happened is they actually get shipments of the pigment in, and it goes through their custom lab. So they base how much. So it's a pre-order when you order it. So in my case, I placed the order in March, and they told me that they were planning to ship it out May 20th, and it literally was here May 21st.
Dang.
So,
but you're
yeah,
actually
I know.
pretty close to the Golden.
Yeah, they're up in New York, so they're only a few hours away. But yeah, they shipped it, and it was here the next day.
Nice.
And
you've already swatched it.
Oh yes, I love this color.
That's where the thumbnail came from. Was thanks to you.
Yes. And I'm not being facetious when I say I love this color. I actually want to add it to my normal palette. I have been really wanting something to replace smalt because I wanted to get a tube of smalt genuine from Daniel Smith, and when I finally was in a position to order it, they ran out.
And you have a bad tendency of falling in love with colors that are like then immediately discontinued.
Yeah, basically. Like the quinacridone gold.
Exactly. And then I think Quin Orange is being discontinued by Daniel Smith as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, well.
I mean, I might be misremembering, and I saw it on Eve Bolt's channel, so.
I'm going to have to look later. But if that's the case, I'm going down to the little art shop and store. Yeah, I'm going to gremlin that, and I'll see if I can get a second tube and send it to you. Between you and me, we're just going to have like this small horde of discontinued pigments.
Or not sold in the U.S.
Right?
That's been my big jam is like, I can't buy it in a brick and mortar. Time to order it from AliExpress.
Yeah. But on the note of YInMn Blue, I actually got an email today from Golden saying, hey, we're getting another shipment in. but because the price of this pigment is so expensive, we have to raise the prices. But if you get your stuff in by June 14th, I think,
Mm-hmm.
um, they'll honor the current pricing in acrylic, oil, and watercolor
Yep. I'll
because
drop
they offer.
those prices in the chat.
Yes.
Oh, except you, man, YouTube has the dumbest, in my opinion, cutoff for text. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
200, which means you can't drop a paragraph.
Yeah. But for those who are in the paint box, I also provided the information that I got today if you are interested in placing an order for that. But I would check out Golden's customer service and contact them if you want to get a tube of it. Because normally they put this through their custom lab where they make all sorts of custom paints, and there's usually a fee associated with that, but they waived the custom fee for all of that.
Yeah, because that's usually more for artists who are buying in bulk. Like there's this
Yes.
one color that they absolutely have to have more of. So, speaking of expensive materials, it's made from yttrium, indium, and magnesium. And depending on the particle size, it can range from bright blue to black. And with additional additives like titanium, zinc, iron, and copper, they're also able to make purples, yellows, browns, a green, and an orange. So at some point, we might be able to have an entire palette full of very expensive rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
I was eyeing that on some of the sites cited in the show notes. Like, I don't know. I'm a gremlin too when it comes to like different pigments. Even though I'll probably never use all of them, it's all like I need it. I need to know. I need to see. So
Right?
one of the nice depending on who you are and what you're looking for things about YInMn Blue is it apparently has high opacity and it can really reflect most infrared radiation, which makes it
Yes.
appear to be a particularly cool blue. And I know some artists, myself included, I feel like I love phthalo and I love ultramarine, but I feel like phthalo is sometimes too cool for me and ultramarine is sometimes too warm for me. And like when it comes to yellows and reds, I can normally find a yellow that's like a good in the middle and reds that are a good in the middle. So even though this thing is kind of a unicorn, I'm hoping it'll fill that gap.
I mean, I really like it. So,
Are you
but
going to be buying the pigments from Kramer?
uh, probably not.
Yeah, I can tell you
Um,
why. A 1.3 ounce tube goes for $179.
Definitely not.
Freedom dollars.
Yeah, I think somebody in my house would probably have problems with that.
So
And
this,
that would be my spouse.
yeah, understandable. That's why I will, even if I love it, I'm going to try not to get attached because $14 for a tube this size is not the worst. There are some colors by some companies that are like $21 for a tube this size, but it's also one of those things where I eat a lot of watercolor when I'm painting comic pages, and I don't want to fall in love with something I can't afford to use.
Hmm.
It kind of reminds me of like true ultramarine, the kind made with that lapis lazuli from that one specific cave because it's so super rare.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm also paying attention to the chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just clicked to the chat.
yeah, the ADHD is strong with me tonight. I apologize.
No, that's fair. I was having to hyper focus on the show notes so that we could cover the basic information first.
Yeah.
So Anna Daunya said Dr. Oto Kano's review with the Kramer version, the pan died. And by died, do you mean like just would not reactivate after a month
I,
and they had to send another one?
yeah, so I had heard rumors about that. But so far in my experience with YInMn Blue, at least in the tube format,
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky in it reactivating.
Yeah, because
So
you've already tried drying it in a half pan and reactivating it.
I haven't put it in a whole half pan actually. I actually have a small sheet with a dab of it on acetate.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah,
Uh,
a half pan is like a lot.
the entire tube. I'm just like,
It's about a third.
no.
It's about a third of the tube.
I'm like hoarding this at the moment. Well, not actually hoarding it, but
Being sparing
I'm
with it.
yes.
Okay, so we've kind of covered the basics about it. I know everybody's waiting to see what it swatches like. I'm going to go ahead and apologize because I know my camera is not going to do it justice. But I want to do a comparison against several other Qor watercolors, or rather Qor blues. And one of the things I always really liked about Qor is this is the binder that they use. So it's a little bit yellow, but it's very clear compared to this gum Arabic. I only use this for demonstration purposes, and it just keeps getting nastier and nastier as it sits. But really, gum Arabic is kind of more of like a dark honey color, and it can make blues like ultramarine blue look kind of muddy. So Qor is already really well known, at least in the US, for having these really clear, clean blues.
Yes, and Qor's, I mean, honestly, their blues are beautiful. Sorry, they're beautiful. I was trying to think of a joke and
Did you
like
read
failed.
that apparently Bluetiful, the new Crayola color, it's inspired by Yin Min Blue, and that they
Yes.
eventually want to offer Yin Min Blue as a crayon?
Yes. My understanding is that they're
That is
waiting
really
on
more like a cobalt.
they're waiting on ASTM approval.
Yep. And I noticed that your tube also says that this has not been approved for spray application. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry that I am having this experience and not being fair with y'all, because it is not an ultramarine. Like, I will definitively say that it is not an ultramarine. It is a lot like a cobalt blue. And now I really wish I might go dig. I think I have a cobalt blue from M Grams, maybe. I actually try to avoid buying too many heavy metal watercolors because we do, dump them down the drain. So I don't necessarily have a good comparison.
Yeah, and the cats, so Hal thankfully hasn't decided that he wants to get into my paint water, but he does eye it sometimes.
Yep.
But Niji used to really try to
Go
drink
to
it.
town on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would step away for a moment and come back to him on the desk, and my water bowl would be empty, and it's like, why are you like this?
Yep. So this was YInMn Blue. My camera is skewing it a little more phthalo than it actually is. This would make a great gouache. Like, this color would be really good in gouache. Something that's intended to have a lot of opacity. This product is considered non-hazardous under the guideline of the OSHA Hazard Communication Standard. However, all products should be used in accordance with safe handling practices. These include avoid eye and skin contact, wash hands after use. For professional use only, not approved for spray application, keep from reach of children. Yes. That was YInMn Blue.
Yeah, and I think that's, even though, the information that we have at the moment says that it's safe, I think that's a good disclaimer for them to have, honestly.
Gotta cover their bases. So next, I'm going to do Ultramarine, and this is from the travel palette. So this is already a lot warmer, not as opaque. And I am swatching today on Blick Studio Cotton Rag watercolor paper. I use this paper for a lot of swatching, so it's something I have a lot of experience with. It tends to like granulation, and I do see the granulation you're talking about. And Bowie let himself in, so he's going to yell at me now.
Oh, but he just wants to join the blue party.
The blue party? He's a Russian blue.
Oh!
Hi,
bud. We're in our blue phase.
Bad puns a go-go. Okay, so next is French Ultramarine Blue. And then when I find the closest visual analog, I'll do like a 3 swatch, right? So the cooler version, the warmer version.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, you see what I was talking about. Like, it, and even just looking at the camera, it's one of those things that's like, wow, the camera just honestly does not
No,
capture it.
it can't.
And
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if some of that is due to the reflectivity.
yeah, you could be right about that. Hadn't thought of
Because
that.
like when you mentioned YInMn Blue, um, is very heat reflective, so I would imagine it also reflects a fair amount of light. And like AMD even used it to coat one of their graphics cards, if I
Mm-hmm.
remember right. Actually, honestly, I'm like sitting here and thinking about this now, and I'm like, we could use this on servers.
Ooh.
This would do a lot for handling server heating
Well, maybe you
issues.
should make the pitch. So it is definitely the Calvin said it looks like a duller ultramarine. It is
Yes.
definitely the camera. It is really hard to capture this color on camera.
Yeah.
So this is a regular ultramarine. That's a French ultramarine, which is a little more blue. Then I also am going to swatch ultramarine blue violet. But now I'm like regretting not having a cobalt blue because that really is the closest I can think of just looking at it right now. I'm sure I have one in some palette somewhere. But I want
Oh
it
man.
when doing these swatches, I wanted to try and stick to mainly Qor since, you know.
Right. Stay within the brand family
Right.
because then you can just sit there and be like, yeah, I've compared it against itself. Because you can find a lot of variants from brand to brand.
That's true. M. Graham makes a really nice manganese blue, way nicer than the Daniel Smith version of it.
Yes. Manganese blue is actually one of my other favorite blues because that one also granulates. Um, so yeah, it is my brain is fried.
That's okay. So
Yeah, manganese blue. Yeah.
take a minute and tell us about Clowderful because this collaboration was made possible thanks to Clowderful.
Yes. Well, so Clowderful was actually created by Taylor Curry Smith, who is the spouse of another friend of mine who makes RPGs. And he, at the moment, is running a fundraiser for supporting their neighborhood cats and getting them their shots and getting them fixed to prevent more suffering in the world. It's really wonderful. So I commissioned him to create a small tabletop RPG about cats. And I love the idea so much that I drew art for it. You can actually get access to it through itch.io. It's currently free, but if you'd like to donate a couple of dollars, that would be wonderful.
I mean, the cause is really good.
Yes, yes, and it's just a cute little game. You play with a deck of cards and some friends, and if you have if you have like a set of dice, you know, that's basically all you need. So yeah, um,
And the art
definitely.
is great because you did the art.
Yes. Well, I mean, the entire idea of just like neighborhood cats and taking care of them, like it's just my thing. I love cats,
Well,
okay?
yeah, no. As a fellow cat person, who every time I see a stray, I want to take it home. I have to pet all the
Yes.
feral cats. Um, I can't afford to adopt another cat. Joseph has put the kibosh on that, and Bowie has seconded the kibosh on that. No more cats. So
Yeah.
I am all for programs that pick up strays and do the responsible thing and spay and neuter them and then release them or find them a home if possible. So I think
Yes.
it's a great cause and a very cute game. And I do plan on playing the game on stream.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
and I think it'll be fun to play together.
Yeah. So, so far this was Edanthron blue. This was Prussian blue. Next, I'm going to.
Oh, I need to get myself a tube of Indanthrone.
It's a really nice dark blue, not quite an indigo, so it's really good for, in my opinion, really good for florals.
Yeah, well, see, I'm like looking at that, and the range of that is almost like a dioxazine.
Yeah.
Actually, I wonder, because didn't Winsor and Newton have a dioxazine blue that came out in oils?
Maybe I don't follow oils. They get colors we don't get. I don't have any
Yeah, I
experience.
know.
Oh, thank you,
Uh,
Coca-Cola. $1. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. So that was phthalo, I want to say phthalo red shade, but let me double check. Phthalo blue green shade. See, that's why I double checked. And I'm going to list, after they dry, I'm going to list them all out. Then next is French cerulean blue. Yes, this is YInMn Blue. So this is the one made with yttrium.
Yeah, the very first one.
And
yes.
It was very generously sent to me by Kabocha.
It is a, yeah. YInMn Blue is, if you can get your hands on it, I personally, it depends on your palette, because if you're not the type of artist that likes to use cobalts or smalt, or colors like that in your palette, then it's probably not going to be much use to you.
Well, also, if you're painting on a cellulose paper, it is probably not going to be a paint you enjoy.
I actually tested it on a cellulose.
Did you like it on cellulose?
Yeah, it was all right. That's
than...
actually, it's what I did my preliminary swatches on, actually.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I got my first impressions.
See, I was thinking it would be very... I've noticed that cellulose, because it doesn't soak into the fibers, it tends to be more chalky, more muddy.
So on cellulose, it is just a smidge more more opaque. However, it lifts a lot better, so it's been pretty nice.
And I will read. Sorry, Bowie is insisting on something. He let himself in again. He really wants to be in here because I think he thinks I'm going to let him outside, but it is dark outside, so the answer is no.
Bowie, buddy.
That's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But
he's a problem.
He wants attention. All right, so from left to right so far, this is our YInMn Blue. It is the closest to a cobalt blue, and unfortunately, like I said, I don't have a cobalt blue in Qor. Next is French ultramarine, no, sorry. Next is ultramarine blue from the travel palette, then French ultramarine blue, then ultramarine blue violet, then Indanthrone blue, then Prussian blue, then phthalo blue green shade, also from the travel palette, then French cerulean blue, and finally cerulean blue chromium. So
that's a pretty extensive set of swatches.
Yeah, I'm trying here. So
yeah,
I'm going to activate my Winsor & Newton smalt blue from a dried half pan, and I'm going to go see if I can dig up a cobalt blue, because I'm pretty sure I have one, but like just one, because like I said, I don't buy a lot of watercolors with heavy metal in them. So I'm going to step away for just a minute and try to zoom this in for you guys while I go dig. There's no guarantee, I might not have one.
Bowie is busy having opinions.
Bowie just has this need to play Happy Family. If we're not in the same room, he starts flipping out.
Oh no, what a baby. But yeah, it's really interesting seeing the YInMn Blue next to the ultramarine, especially on stream, because like I've got my swatches here right in front of me, and they look so different. Like, it's almost like the camera just, like, the ultramarine looks almost like a phthalo. And yeah, Hema, well, all of the blues are gorgeous, but yeah, I agree. The third one from the right is pretty nice. It's very smooth. We are currently waiting on Becca at the moment, so I will not serenade you all with my wonderful singing for the evening.
Were you singing
Because-
too? I was singing.
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just saying we were waiting and just saying I will not serenade them. I am not going to do them that disservice.
Okay, so this is a Holbein Cobalt Blue. This is M. Graham's Manganese Blue hue, and I already kind of got my smalt blue started.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I thought about grabbing the Daniel Smith Ultramarine Blue because I believe it granulates a lot, but I don't remember. Mainly for like comparison. So smalt blue is made with glass.
Yes, it's made with cobalt glass. Before the stream, I was actually joking with Becca about how much I wanted to get my hands on smalt because it's like maybe it's just a little bit less toxic than straight cobalt blue because, at least the cobalt's in the glass. I don't actually know.
That was
I
small.
haven't done my research.
Here's cobalt.
Ah,
A blue
smalt.
wrap.
Actually, yeah, looking at smalt on camera, that is
It looks
really
pretty
close.
similar.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do, for the closest matches, I'm gonna do some side-by-side swatching where they're like next to the YInMn Blue. And unfortunately my camera is just really not gonna play well, which actually makes me wonder, because we were talking about this. I'm an artist who most of the art I make is intended for reproduction, and if YInMn Blue does not show up true in a scan, that makes it less, if I have to, I always have to do some color adjusting, but if I have to do color adjusting specifically for YInMn Blue, that makes it.
Yeah, I think for an artist that does work for reproduction, YInMn Blue is not going to be a good choice. I would go with a cobalt.
And then I was wondering, because it's the particles inside, if I mix the YInMn Blue with something else, does that also affect the resulting mix color, how that reproduces?
That's a good question. I know I sent pictures of some of my swatches to you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me compare because my monitor is actually pretty good. Yes, actually.
It does.
There is a little bit of a distortion. So the greens and the purples from that do come out a bit different. But that's okay because I think it kind of just like I'm one of those types of people who kind of enjoys a gimmick from time to time.
Yeah, I get that. And it makes it more special to own that original because it
Yes.
looks better in real life.
Yes. So if I was going to use it, I would probably, like, if I was still doing Artist Alley stuff, I
Mhm.
would probably enter it into an art show
Yeah.
at Otakon or something,
Yeah,
or
with
the
like
art
the
auction.
gimmick of like it will no print will ever look like the
Yeah.
original.
Yeah, because the color will always not be quite right.
Yep. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about here now, because I want to. So Calvin says camera and scanners always have a problem with displaying true color. While that is true, if you have a lot of experience with scanning your work for reproduction, you kind of develop a pattern of how you normally solve those problems.
Yes.
if you
And
have
also,
one color that's a problem child, like neons tend to be a problem child, then you find yourself not painting with those ever. I mean, neons are super fugitive, but you find yourself not painting with those because they always ruin the color gamut and they make fixing the piece way harder.
yes. And there's also, it depends on your scanner and your camera and the color depth that it can actually read.
Yeah. Like I always scan. I have a big Epson, like a large format Epson scanner, and I always scan at 600 DPI because I find that I actually get better fidelity after I crunch it down if I scan it huge like that.
Yeah, for instance, I don't have a very good scanner at the moment because it's just not my primary focus.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But mine only has a color depth of 24 bits. So yours is probably much more. It's probably closer to like 56 or something. I was doing some research at some point trying to figure out what I needed if I wanted true color, and it was just like, I am not paying $500 for a scanner right now
Oh
because,
yeah.
yeah,
So Canon makes an $80 scanner for scanning negatives that is actually really good for scanning watercolors, but it is small. It
yeah,
has like a scanner bed of like 8x10 ish.
yeah. See, at the moment, it's like there's only two brands that I trust with any of my art stuff for printing, and that's Canon and Brother.
My Epson's been pretty good, but Joseph had to adjust the heck out of it.
Yeah. I mean, see, I just coming from work, I have had way too much trouble with Epsons, so I avoid the crap out of them.
I get that. They burned you.
Yeah, that burned me at work. So it's like the enterprise environment has spoiled me. But that's okay.
So right now, I'm just labeling everything so it's easier for us to keep track of it.
Yeah. Oh, also, Becca,
Yes.
Hema asked, what was that last blue on the right?
This
That's
one.
yeah.
Yes, it is Mgram's Manganese Blue Hue. It's a
Ah,
really nice blue hue. In my opinion, it sets up best in a half pan because otherwise the honey will separate out. You guys saw me get like some honey and I just put it in the wash cup, which I would not do if I was painting like an illustration, but I needed to get rid of it quick.
So, like, manganese blue actually is more of a cyan. And I tend to use that in comparison, I tend to use that in my case because I sometimes work with the CMY painting palette, which some people are like, why do you do that? And it's like, because I feel like it.
That's a challenge for sure.
I find it fun. I find it's a different way of thinking. And of course, as with any color mixing, like, you're not gonna get with the CMY style stuff, you're not gonna get some of the darker colors all the time, which can be a challenge. But on the other hand, I find it entertaining.
Yeah.
Also, Hema, which one matches my OCs? That is how I pick paint half the time. Indian yellow and Prussian blue are actually what I use for painting Aster's hair now as a mix because it produces just such a nice green.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah,
I'm a big sucker for good greens.
Yeah, so both of them are Qor, so it's Qor Indian. Yeah, no worries. It's Qor Indian yellow and Qor Prussian blue. So yeah,
a warm yellow and a cool dark blue. This one actually. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to take our YInMn Blue and try to find the closest matches and then do some comparison swatching. Again, the camera really. So unlike Kabocha, I think it's a good color, but I'm not like, this is the color I've been waiting for. But I really, like, the camera really isn't capturing the color. It is a blue. It is like a bluey blue. It is, there's pinkest pink and blackest black. This is kind of like blue is blue.
Don't tell Stuart Semple.
Oh no! Well, I think he's too late to get a monopoly on that.
He wouldn't want a monopoly on that, and we need to be careful that Anish Kapoor doesn't buy it.
I don't think that's gonna be. See, if that was gonna come up, that should have been for the old Quinn Gold, the Toyota Quinn Gold.
Right?
That's the one you wanna buy up. Okay, so Calvin said that Yin Min looked a lot like Ultramarine. They're already together next to each other right there, but I'm gonna do a swatch.
Yeah.
Of
Also,
that.
he made the joke of Vanta Blue.
Vanta Blue. Yeah, pretty much. It's because it is actually in between Phthalo and Ultramarine.
But one of the really nice things that I like about everything that I've seen about YInMn Blue and Mass Subramanian is that Professor Subramanian so far seems like he's been pretty cool about
Yeah,
this.
I was having read about him. He seems like a cool dude, like very chill and just mostly excited about its applications, and that
Right?
it's like I can bring something to the art world, and also like that there might be other colors that he can generate from YInMn or
Yes.
Ethereum.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I remember reading an article a while ago where he had like tested and created some other hues.
Yeah,
And
I want to play with those.
oh, I found the article. I'm gonna drop it in chat. So the YInMn Blue series, that's just like so fascinating. And I hope when they like come up with a better name for this color that they do actually name it Mass Blue.
After
Because
him?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I am all for that. I'm all for that. Sorry, I'm like nerding out over
No. I'm glad
over
you're
a
talking
chemist.
because I'm over here like trying to remember which colors I put where. So I appreciate it. Honestly, having another voice on the stream helps a lot because I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Oh, how are you? I'm sorry. Like all these articles are like YInMn Blue is very close to Cobalt Blue, and then I swatch Cobalt Blue, and it's like, no, it's not.
I think it's closer to Smalt.
Smalt to me is more purple than it is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, I mean it is,
wow,
but
I misspelled Ultramarine.
I can see where people are like, yeah, it's kind of like Smalt, but it is its own thing. I mean, that's why it's its own pigment.
Now, my annoyance is really that it doesn't. This is telling for me because I'm a little bit isolated in Southeast Louisiana in terms of the kind of content I make in the audience. So a lot of what I'm doing right now has to be shared, distributed online, and for me, right now, where I'm at right now, a color that doesn't reproduce or doesn't reproduce accurately becomes a problem in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's like, how do we solve YInMn Blue? How do we photograph YInMn Blue?
How do we photograph this? But on the other hand, I think it's kind of a neat problem to have because then you can be like,
true,
come visit me or see me in the artist alley and check out my amazing originals.
Now, to me, no, this blue, and this is where I really love that different artists have different favorites. Like, I 100% believe you are going to make this blue shine. I'm looking at this because when I use blues, I am usually like in the ultramarine category or in the phthalo category. Like, because I'm either painting things that need a warm blue or a cool blue, like foliage. So I'm looking at YInMn and I'm just kind of like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I like, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful for the tube because I am very grateful for it. But it's also like, in practicality, I'm over here like, okay, now how do I make this work? Sorry, I went off camera because I'm grabbing. I'm actually gonna do the bao hong paper. I use this a lot because I want to do some color mixes using the YInMn Blue. It would be also neat to just leave. So a while back, if we ever hit this goal on Patreon, I will still do it. I still am super into the idea. I want to set up a homemade light fasting system out in the yard using clear Sterilite containers with those rubber gaskets and checking in once a month. But that's like a $500 a month goal because that's a lot of extra work. But I think this would be really fun to put into something like that. And see, because YInMn is supposed to be very light fast. Like Prussian is more fugitive than YInMn Blue.
Well, there's actually an interesting thing about.
Your lav mic is right there.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I guess I got quiet again. I bent down to grab something, so I took it off so I didn't choke myself, and I forgot to put it back on.
So, there is an interesting thing about Prussian Blue. Prussian Blue is fugitive, but if you leave it in the dark for a while, it actually seems to regain its color.
That's weird. I kind of like that. That's weird.
It is. It's weird, but it's also really cool.
So I'm going to be off. I keep getting paint on me, which, you know, the tube is like, don't do that. So I'm going to be a huge dork, and I'm actually going to use one of these, like, mini resins, just as, like, so I can put a dot of YInMn on it.
Yes, do it. Do it. Put it in the blue one.
Wait. Put
it in one of the blue ones. Oh,
no,
that's fine.
You sent me black and you sent me
clear. The tiny little palettes.
Sorry.
Yes, those. You're fine.
I'm just using it as like a holder.
The stream is a little bit behind where we are, so it's like I'm watching the stream and then going, oh wait,
and then reacting, even though we're having like a okay. So what I will also do is this is what the water is so blue after all these blues. It's just so blue. I'm going to get some fresh water so that we can actually get some clean mixes and we can see how YInMn Blue mixes. And I'm going to just use the Qor mini palette because, you know, Qor with Qor, and it's also a pretty decent mix of colors.
Yes.
So I'll be right back.
Yes. So yeah, the tiny little mini pellets are actually from a mini resin mold that I found on Etsy, because I mean, it's been pandemic times. I developed about 20 new hobbies, but I sent Becca a bunch of them because they were cute. Baja Blast watercolor water? No! Hema, why are you bringing in the cursed? Yes, you can paint with sodas if the dyes in them are not fugitive, but you're likely to cause some problems. I would not recommend it.
It's so weird that Prussian Blue color shifts. It's like it's absorbing. It's kind of like those phosphorescent pigments where they absorb light and they change color, and then after the light sources it kind of run itself out.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to do is a color stripe, but that would take a really long time on stream because you got to let paint dry. So I'm not going to do, well, I'll probably do a color stripe in post, like, you know,
okay,
in another thing.
Yeah.
But, and I'll post all of this to the paint box. My only concern is like, how am I going to edit the color so that you guys can actually see a good approximation of YInMn Blue?
Yeah, see, when Just Paint made an article on it, it was one of those things that was like, oh god, this is difficult.
Yeah, this is a challenging paint, but challenging can be fun.
Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree. Actually, now that you mentioned like swatching it and doing light fast testing, I'm doing a swatch here on my end, and I'm gonna tape it to the window because you know the windows in my studio area face the sun.
Yeah, they get a lot of light.
Yeah, and it's summertime now.
What'll be, I mean, I have a feeling if they're using this in industrial applications, I feel like we'll probably never we'll never see it fade. Maybe it will though. What I think is what I would be more interested in seeing is how quickly other blues fade in comparison to YinMn Blue.
Oh, oh, that's a good idea.
Go for
See,
it.
like this this is why you're the ideas person.
I
So,
think it's because
yeah.
I'm ADHD, but the only way I got through life was like extreme impulse control, so I never do anything.
I mean, yeah, it I understand the ADHD life. It
I
is.
had too many friends who are also ADHD who behaved very impulsively and then didn't understand the consequences, and it just terrified me as a kid.
Yeah, my mom was pretty good about teaching us ways to manage it. But for me, it's like the past year has really brought that to the fore,
Yeah.
combined with that good old head injury, making that about 20 times worse. So, don't recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, I can
Zero.
imagine.
Yeah.
Traumatic head injury, do not recommend.
Yeah, yeah, 0 out of 10.
So, one of the things I'm kind of noticing, at least the way I'm doing it right now, and I assume optical mixing with this color is also a no go, is that it just kind of makes for some muddy mixes. Now, to be fair, I'm mostly mixing warm colors right now. I'm just running my way through the gamut. So maybe we'll get some better mixes as we get towards the greens.
So, yeah, the yellows weren't my favorite.
Yeah.
But the nickel azo produced a yellow that was kind of close to Daniel Smith's undersea
Oh,
green.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that you gotta like mix it out and like pre-mix it on a palette, sort of. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I
Um,
get what you're saying. Because like I'm looking at this now and I'm like, oh, I should probably
yeah,
grab.
but your way of mixing it, see, doing that sort of gradation test is also good.
Yeah, yeah, all
Um,
three are valid. The
yeah,
manually mixing it, the wet into wet mixing it, and the optical mixing it are all valid because they are all with this paint. They're all going to handle differently.
yes,
And then you
yeah, and the thing,
said Quinn Magenta looks really good with this one.
yes, that one's so pretty.
Okay, yeah, okay. I can, yeah, that's more. And see, one of the articles I read said that for people who want to mix a true purple from red and blue and have been struggling to do it, because ultramarine, it's very pretty, but it's a very red kind of purple that you can get with ultramarine. This is going to be more likely to give you a true purple if
Yes.
you can mix it with a middle of the road red. But for me, I know the hill I'm gonna die on is gonna be the but it won't reproduce hill.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That is, well, again, for it's gonna vary for everybody's
Oh
use
yeah, yeah,
cases.
yeah, yeah. If I
So,
was like a
yeah,
gallery artist, you better believe I would be pulling this out and bragging about it. But I would also be using like Vanta Black. Just
right?
because. Why not? Pink is pink.
Exactly.
Which online, pink is pink, in my opinion, is such a nauseating color. Okay, so this is ultramarine mixed with the YinMn Blue. Yeah, I remember when the Jerry's Artorama YouTube channel, so Mike, not Jerry, was
Mm.
talking about this, and I can link it. I watched that video like a couple years ago, and I couldn't. He was getting so excited, but he gets excited about everything, and I was just like, I don't necessarily see the hype, but as a watercolor nerd, I will probably buy in.
Mm. Yeah, this is definitely one of those things that it's like, don't see the hype until you play with it in person.
Yeah, because it just doesn't. It's like a good opera rose doesn't necessarily reproduce very well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why YouTube is being so dumb with hiding certain comments, and there's like nothing wrong with any of those comments. YouTube,
It's silly.
it is silly, man. The Kappa thing. Oh boy, that really goofed me.
Like, okay, so I upload some things to YouTube for just like sharing cat
Yeah,
videos.
yeah.
And even for stuff that's going to be unlisted, they're like, is this uploaded for children? And it's like, no,
No.
I'm uploading a video of Hal being a goof.
I mean, but the thing is, with the way they originally pitched the Kappa thing, it was anything that might appeal to children. And
Yes.
then they kind of like retconned that, and it was like, no, it's really like, is this intended for children? But initially, the rules were like, does it have animals? Does it have accessible language? Which really ticked me off, because why is accessible language considered for children?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have cartoon characters, cute animals, accessible language? No mature theme. So basically, like, legit all ages content would have fit under children with Kappa.
Yeah, it was incredibly vague. And it was really only it was like YouTube overreacted for
them
a
covering their
couple.
butt.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So anyway.
Oh, hey Don, good evening. Good to see you.
Hi Dawn.
We are playing around
Oh.
with a little bit of YInMn Blue today, comparing it with some of the other blues that Qor makes. And right now, I'm just kind of seeing how it mixes with other colors.
Yes.
And Kabocha is joining us on the stream via voice this time.
Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing when I'm not just in the chat being weird.
I think most people are pretty weird here, so it kind of creates like a like what standard are you judging yourself by?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, one of the folks that I work with today, we had a conversation about, if you were in a room with 100 people, what is one thing that you could talk about almost certainly more definitively than anyone else?
It really does. I
And
mean,
yeah, more definitively than, and then he was like, okay, what about if it was just 10 people? And it's like, oh, paint.
yeah. Hey, Aaron. Good
Oh,
evening.
hi, Aaron.
Yeah, it's like when someone puts me in a room with 100 other people, it's usually a comic convention. So it's like, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that I am very nerdy about.
Yes.
Okay, so that is all, what, 12 of the colors from the Qor Travel Palette, blended, swatched with YInMn Blue. So I need to do like 12 lines so I can do I can start. I'm not going to do it on stream because I don't think it'll dry in time, but I would like to do, and see then, because this is kind of an opaque color, honestly, which order of operations you swatch it in really does make a difference. Whether you do the YInMn first or the color first. But I'm going to do the YInMn first because I'm lazy.
Yeah, and just also be aware that it will probably lift.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty opaque. I think it will. Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Then I should do it as the glaze.
Yeah.
To be fairest.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can draw a straight line 12 times in a row. The answer, it will surprise you. The answer is probably no. This has been fun though. Really, I really like, I like having you on as a guest because it gives me someone else to geek out with, and I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself. But also, like, this was really cool.
I'm glad that I was able to, actually get my hands on some for you, because I was just like, Becca, you're gonna love I think that was how I messaged you. I was like, Becca, it's here.
It's out.
I have it. I
I'm
have got my
impressed
hands
because
on the
I will tell
crisp.
you something about, no offense if you fall into this category, I have a lot of respect for you, but those watercolor older ladies at the art supply store are fierce. I have I have gotten into grabby fights with them over the Quinn Gold.
Oh,
It wasn't like a
they
fight, but you know what I mean. It was like mask off. I'm here for the Quinn.
yeah, but they know what they want.
Yeah, they do. That's why I have a lot of respect for them. I just figured
Yeah.
this was going to be a fierce battle for the Yin Min.
No, I just got in on it early. Or well, earlier, I suppose. But either way, I think it was more luck.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know. What is luck? It's like preparation plus, or is it opportunity? Is just preparation plus opportunity?
yeah,
Wait, I meant
yeah,
luck.
I would agree with that. Because
Because you
honestly,
knew what you wanted and you knew what it was worth.
yeah, and it was one of those things that it was. I saw it was available, and I was like, I'm getting this. I don't care what it costs per tube. I'm getting this.
Oh, that's a good luck justifying that one.
Uh, in this case, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, $14 a tube is not that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let
But
those fully cure. So probably for a while. Now, one of the things I want to do is I do want to set up the YInMn Blue. Maybe not in a full half pan. Maybe in one of your little sparkle ones. Because I do. I mean,
yes,
I mainly work from half pans or from pans. So to me, if a watercolor doesn't reactivate, it becomes a special use kind of thing for me.
hmm?
And then I don't really use it a whole lot.
I think that's a fair test. Um, yeah, I would probably put it in the tiny little pan so that way you're
Yeah,
not
yeah, wasting
just
it if it doesn't come back.
how what are you doing?
Peanut Bat,
He just climbed on my desk.
he wants to eat the YInMn Blue.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Hal is my 1-year-old cat.
He's a
Um,
teenager.
yeah, he is. He literally behaves like a teenager. He is a water gremlin and he enjoys being on my desk when he can be. He's also a dice goblin.
In that he wants to bat at them.
Um, he likes stealing them. Like he's legit taken some of the D20s that I've made and I can't find them.
What a butt.
I know.
Oh, I'm lazy and I don't feel like cleaning my tables. But I also want to use up some of the YInMn Blue that's in the cap. So this is Quinn Magenta with YInMn Blue. So it does make yeah, that's a nice purple. I'll give it that. That's a
Right?
nice purple. But it's going to
It's a
sediment out entirely, probably.
well, see, I think it's and I feel bad like constantly bringing up Daniel Smith
No, go
in
for
this
it.
because it's like it's an entirely different brand.
Yeah.
But Daniel Smith, so it's a lot like their royal purple. I think that's the name of the color.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another very sedimenting purple. And if I remember right, it's a quinacridone magenta or quinacridone rose with ultramarine in it. So, um, and that was the mix that kind of sealed YInMn Blue as far as a favorite for me. Because it was like, oh, it does my favorite color combo.
Now that is really pretty. See, what I'm going to end up liking this as a super granulating color, and that's where it's going to suck. Because I'm going to be like, needs more! I need more!
I'm so sorry to have done this to you.
Well,
Not really.
apologize to
I'm not sorry at all.
Joseph.
Not sorry at all, actually.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Hal?
But we'll see because it might. I mean, if it doesn't, if I can't get it to reproduce at all. So this is, whoa, that makes like Van Dyke Brown. This is YInMn Blue with Pyrrole Orange. And of course, with anything that granulates a lot, as it dries, it kind of becomes a different color.
Yeah, but it is so nice. Sorry, I'm like grabbing my paper cutter because I am prepping the part of the thing that I'm about to tape in the window and scare my neighbors with for 3 months.
You need to just now that many COVID restrictions have loosened up, maybe you need to just like go around and be like, yeah, I also am a painter. So if you see me doing something weird, I'm just an artist. I'm weird.
Oh, I think they've just gotten used to it at this point, honestly.
Ooh, actually, so Yin Min with the alizarin crimson, but it's mostly Yin Min, is kind of a pretty desaturated purple.
Yeah, yeah. And I find that the mix really does change depending on how much Yemen you
Yeah,
add.
it like drastically.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is fascinating.
it's an interesting one that bears more playing with. So when I was talking to you, well, earlier, um, we were talking about how because it has yttrium in it, and that's kind of why it's so expensive. Um,
Mhm.
I was comparing it to true lapis lazuli and how they used to use lapis lazuli for religious paintings, not only because the color was so beautiful, but because it was so rare and it's, this scarcity to depict this divine image. And it kind of reminds me of where YInMn Blue is now. But since it's a more modern pigment, it would be kind of interesting to use it for like a digital Madonna.
Oh, that could be great.
Except then you can't reproduce it.
Oh God, I feel bad for wanting to make this joke, but you can make an NFT.
No,
No, no,
no, no. Do not
absolutely not.
summon. Do not summon the discourse upon my head.
I'm not
No,
going to
thank
because
you. Not here for that.
yeah, I know which side of the discourse I'm on, and it is the one that involves the least server management.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You and I can have a private conversation about it. I mean, I would also be okay talking about it on the paint box because I actually have kind of a gray position on it if it
Mhm.
weren't so environmentally. Okay, so if Bitcoin wasn't the main one and it was something that wasn't so environmentally destructive, my other concern is that with NFTs, people are claiming they own something they don't own and then selling it. Like, also, if you want a non fungible token, just literally owning an original piece of art, that original is the token.
Yep.
But yeah, anyway. Yes, it is. It's paint for hamsters or Blythe dolls or BJDs.
Oh yeah, Becca, the tiny one that's filled is like a whole bunch. So the first six really light
It's so
colors in that
cute.
one, those are the pastel chameleons.
So the
And
first
one of the
six.
yeah. Yeah, it's like two blues, two purples, and two pinks in the filled one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh you probably need to flip it upside down.
What do you mean? Flip it upside down.
Or, I'm
Oh,
looking at
oh, you're thinking of
yeah,
okay,
other end.
okay.
Yeah.
See, I think of this as the bottom for some reason because when you look at um, a lot of the palettes, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is why
Oh
I
yeah.
think this way. They put the water brush section here, and I figured
Yeah,
this
that makes
is
sense.
just like sometimes like on AliExpress you see miniaturized versions of other things, and I don't know how
Yeah.
they shrink the mold, but they do. I
Yeah,
guess.
no, that makes sense. So yeah, the pink, purple, blue, purple, pink, blue, those are the pastel chameleons, and that second pink in the middle row, um, try that one on a dark sheet of paper.
I mean, I'm not going to do the swatches on top of this tonight with y'all because I think that would take forever. Well, it might. They're looking dry.
Sorry.
So maybe what I'll do is I'll do these if you want, and then I will go back and do the smalt over this. Not the smalt.
Yeah.
The YInMn Blue. I don't know what's wrong with me. So those are handmade watercolors using what? A very similar process to what you used in the stream we did together, right? The last time we did a stream together?
Yeah, except between now and then I actually made my own binder.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's the secret. I've been reviewing a lot of handmade watercolors and they haven't gone live yet, but that's like everybody's super special secret because everybody's getting the pigments with the exception of Beam. I think Beam actually collects a lot of their own pigments, but they're all probably buying them from like the same 4 vendors.
Probably.
In the US, you don't have a lot of options for pigments.
Yeah. But like, so for those, sorry, it's like ADHD hour apparently.
The witching hour has come early.
Yes. But so in the case of these paints, like these were literally gum arabic powder that I got off Amazon.
Yeah, the jacquard powder. Oh wait, I can actually show you because I've been slowly amassing a dragon hoard because you and I are going to do a watercolor stream using pigments.
Yes.
So this powder, right?
So in this case, I actually bought some of the food grade stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I was just like, yeah, but the jacquard stuff is another one that I use frequently, because, you know, it works well. And then I put some drops of clove oil in there and some honey and just kind of mix it all together in a pot. And once it gets to the consistency that I like, I'm just like, all right, it's done. We're done. And call it good. There's nothing fancy about what I do. So for anybody who's like, Kabocha has secrets. No, I don't have secrets.
Hang on a second. I have a comment about that, but I want to change out that water.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I don't have secrets. I'm just a gremlin. Also, yay, made by Dawn. It is really nice to make one's own paints. And I'm glad that somebody else does it because I don't sell mine either. Partly because I think the market is saturated enough, and also I just really like experimenting, and I don't feel like I have enough attention span to consistently make products. But it is very nice to be able to work with glitter of my own making. Because that's primarily what I do, but it depends. Actually, you know what? Since Hal is here, buddy, I'm going to get a picture of you with my YInMn swatches, or my test swatches.
Is the buddy Howl?
Yeah.
Paint by gun. I mean, it could. If I was a different YouTube channel, I'd go to Dollar Tree and get a bunch of water pistols and fill them with paint and go to town.
Okay, but that sounds fun.
It does sound fun. Well, when you come visit, we'll do it.
Oh, God.
I have all these ideas, but they're not one-person ideas. No, what I was going to say is I think a lot of the people who make handmade watercolors, which again, maybe the exception of Beam, I think even though they act like they have this super secret process, it is probably just like the process you're using is probably the same process with maybe slightly different ratios as every other artist who is making and selling watercolors is using. You're just being honest that it's not like super special and secret.
Yeah, in my case, it's just like, for me, it's more, I don't feel any need to keep it secret, because if people want to experiment, that's up to them. And why make them waste the money and the time when I've already done it? You know?
I get that. I mean, that is very what's the altruistic of you, because like on the other hand, one could say you are training your own competition. And when it comes to
Yeah.
making and selling things online, there is no loyalty to the person who taught you how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of truth in that, and admittedly, I have found that over the years. Um, but on the other hand, I am in a position, thankfully, where I'm just like, if we end up being competition, that's fine because, eh, yeah,
Yeah, it's a complicated position and a complicated feeling.
yeah. Also, you see that second pink that you swatched?
This one?
You notice it's
Whoa,
kind of
it's very
greenish.
different.
Yeah, it's so
Like this
neat.
looks like almost purple in the teeny tiny eighth of a pan, and then you get it on paper and it looks very different.
Yeah, so it's more pink if you layer it, but yeah.
So, going back to the teach a man a fish philosophy, I think when it comes to things like art, if you're teaching them how to draw, everybody, or in general, people do eventually develop their own art style. So,
Hmm.
that is, I think, I don't know. I, I'm having trouble putting it into words. So when you're teaching someone how to watercolor, they could literally just take, not watercolor, how to make watercolor paints. They could literally just take your formula that you taught them with, turn around, make paints, and then claim they taught themselves. No one ever showed them anything. When it comes to art, while it is frustrating to have people who are literally using the internet for an art school education then turn around and claim that no one ever taught them, they learned on their own, you still will develop a unique art style over time unless all you ever do is copy one person. So like on one hand, it is in a way less competition when you're teaching someone else how to draw, because you're all going to end up theoretically developing your own story, developing your own style. Whereas when you're showing someone how to manufacture a product, they there is less incentive because it's not about creating a story or exploring yourself personally necessarily. It can be very much about just making the thing to sell it.
Right. So here's where mildly anarchist Kabocha or Kabocha comes in is the more people know how to do it, the less power there is to the individuals that are that have the stranglehold on the market. So, yeah,
I with this
there's
is
that.
I'm not we're not fighting. I
Yeah,
agree
yeah, yeah.
with you, but when the internet comes into play, okay. So I'm gonna get too real right now. I made a dumb joke about one of my favorite mangaka because there was a tweet going around that she only works 8 hours a day. She takes weekends, blah 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 blah. Last night I retweeted it. I quote retweeted it and said my queen, and I only got 5 likes on that, which is fine. And then another account today, like in the middle of the day, did the exact same thing I did and got like 100 likes and buku retweets. So
Yeah.
the internet, it does not is not a meritocracy,
Oh
which
no.
is fine. We knew that for a while, but also you will always have this perceived value, this perceived quality attached to more popular people. And the way you
Oh
get
yeah.
popular is having all these people willing to do that for you.
Yep.
So
Yeah. But on the other hand,
those are pretty.
by just by being able to sit there and be like, I can make that. It, for me, it feels like a form of power.
Yeah, I know. I get
So,
that.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think we're kind of on the same page. It's just like uh, different sides of the same coin. And yes, I did, or well, I didn't hear about a Photoshop replica, but there are several apps out there that do very similar things to Photoshop.
I'm gonna go, since since glitter has a nice, not very nice nickname among crafters, I'm gonna go clean my water cup out real well, and then we will do the final layer of smalt on top of these color swatches.
Yeah. Also, that last one actually is glitter. So. Becca has glitter. I've accidentally infected her studio.
Okay, sorry about that. So another thought is that, not that, I think Kara in some extent is trademarked, since she is a character in a comic that has 2 books out and a web comic out, etc., etc. But I actually see people drawing Kara, like artists way more popular than me. I mean, it's a miniature girl, 7 inches tall, brown hair and a ponytail, looks to be about 11 years old. It's Kara. And they say, this is my new OC, and they're way more popular than I am. And it's just kind of frustrating to like sit there with that, you know. It's like, you could have made this character look like anything else.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird space to be in, because you know, you've got your own stuff that you want to see succeed, you've got your own stories you want to tell. Oh, that's gonna be like really opaque over those colors. Maybe I should have done the grid instead of a plaid.
Okay.
I don't know, because it's not. I am like over here like, this is right now, but this color is so opaque when it goes down, and then it does dry a little more transparent, that it is kind of hard to get a feel for it. And I apologize, I am capable of nuanced ideas, I'm just more comfortable with them in written form.
Yes.
I always feel like I have like foot and mouth disease.
Well, also, you and I are kind of rapid fire going back and forth in a context where we're both tired. It's been a long day, and it's like, yeah, it actually, it's been a long week. So I think part of it is you and I understand what we're saying to each other, and we understand the points that are getting across that we may not be communicating to people who don't know the two of us super well.
That's true. So to be fair, if you don't mind me talking about your past life, Kabocha made these really phenomenal watercolor and clip studio paintbrushes for like a decade. And they're like the shoujo, the ones most people know of are like the shoujo sparkle effects. I mean, you literally used to see them everywhere in web comics. I would even see them on people's con merch, and I didn't realize that they were Kabochas until I knew Kabocha and I could compare the two. And people just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah. There was, I think probably one of that. Well, actually, Becca was there with me at SPX when somebody used it in their.
That was a weird one for me.
Well, okay, so there were a couple instances where some folks had used it in their comics, and like I broke down crying when somebody came over and was like, "You're Kabocha," and like legit thanked me and gave me a copy of the zine that it was in, and it was like just that. I've been making the brushes for 10 years, and it's just like one of those things that when you make resources, it's always really good to just get kind of like that little bit of recognition.
It's yes 100%. Like, it isn't because when you're making these things, you're not making them to make a lot of money. There are easier ways to make a lot of money. You're doing them to contribute to a community that in theory you love. And to see your things used, but no one ever knows your name, you don't mean anything to people, it starts to make you feel like you're just a product, and that if you don't make that product, you just don't matter anymore to other people.
Yeah, at times those feelings do happen sometimes, but it definitely does make it worth it when people are like, yeah, I use your stuff. And it's not just like the people that know you the best saying that.
Yeah, it's nice when it's like a stranger who likes you.
Yeah.
It's nice when people you care about like your stuff too. But when
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a total rando made it a point to come say, hey, thank you. It's like, hey, what I do has value to other people and they associate it with me as a person.
Yes. Yes. Why are you biting me, Howl? It's now turned into bite o'clock, where I'm like trying to move my arm across my desk and he's just like grabbing it and going, ah.
He's hungry. Pay attention to him, Marm.
Oh, he has food. He's just hungry for love.
So this is the YInMn Blue glazed over all the colors in the mini palette, and then down here is a stripe of YInMn Blue, and eventually I'm just going to extend these colors to see how they layer over the YInMn Blue. But other than that, I think this has been a really, other than doing a field test, I think this has been a pretty fair test, a pretty fair look at what YInMn Blue has to offer. We compared it against, I gotta count, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different blues. Most of them are from Qor. We did some side-by-side comparisons of the colors that people compare it to the most. Let me move my head for you guys. So we've got ultramarine blue, we've got smalt, and we've got cobalt blue. And the camera isn't really showing it. Like, I'm looking at the camera and I'm seeing that like the YInMn Blue and the ultramarine blue look very similar on camera. They're very different in real life. And I'm over here like puzzling out how I'm going to show this, how I'm going to represent this to you guys, because I've looked at a bunch of YInMn Blue swatches where they compare like the acrylics to other colors, and those don't ever look, I looked at those swatches and I was like, I don't see the big deal. But it is truly a very different color than what's up here, even if it looks very similar. Now, does that mean you need to hurry up, run out, spend $14 for a little 5 milliliter tube, be on a waiting list just to get this? I mean, that's really like a your mileage may vary kind of situation. Like Kabocha is probably going to be ordering more tubes of this, and I think this tube will probably work for me for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of depends. Like, if you're happy with your existing palette, if you don't feel like there's big gaps in what you can mix, you don't need YInMn Blue. But if you want to mix true purples, if you're frustrated and you want a blue that's like in between a warm blue and a cool blue because you work with a really limited palette, YInMn Blue could be a good fit for your palette.
Yes. If you're not scanning your work, YInMn Blue is probably going to be a good match
and
as
I mean,
well.
that also turns into this situation where you can tell your customers, you know, about, because a lot of when people buy art, it's not always the case, but often they're buying the story of the art too. So if you can say, oh yeah, this was made using YInMn Blue, YInMn Blue is made using yttrium, it's kind of rare, blah 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 blah, there was a shortage. If there's like a compelling story behind the color, then people are going to be willing to pay more money for it, and it makes it more valuable for them. Especially if you're like, yeah, you know, I could make prints of this piece, but I'm not gonna because it'll never look as good as the original.
So, what are you doing?
Being a butt cat.
Okay, I stood up at my desk for a minute and he stole my seat.
Yep.
He slid off of my desk and just... Anyway.
He wants to sit with you.
This is cat owner problems, and unfortunately none of you guys can see the little gremlin that is currently occupying my chair.
You post pictures of him to pets sometimes, though.
Oh yeah, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put another picture of him in pets. I put a picture up just a little bit ago in the paint box of him with my swatch of, or my swatches that I'm gonna put in the window. How, buddy? Also, if you're wondering why his name is Howl, because when we adopted him, he was a dramatic little brat.
And see, I thought it was because I had it and I lost it. I'm sorry. He's a charmer until you get him home.
That too. But he's also very dramatic.
Oh, life is so hard. So
And he loves his baths.
some of these did kind of smear into each other, but I think they will dry okay enough for us to be able to tell later on how colors layer over YInMn Blue. Um, for someone who does as many layers and glazes as I do, that's a toughen. This is a toughen.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see how you approach the challenge.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I will let's be real here. I will probably take the medieval cop out approach of it's just a field of blue. I mean, it would work. It would definitely reference the kind of historic connection too.
Yeah? See, I'm sitting here and going, could I draw something with Pico with it? Pico is my current D&D character.
Oh yeah.
Who is a cat. A literal cat.
A gremlin.
So, she'd probably be appropriate.
So rare, so precious.
But yeah.
Well, I am going now. I have the challenge of figuring out how to reproduce this for you guys, but I will try. Thank you so much for sending this. This was definitely fun and interesting. The biggest bummer for me is that on camera it really does look very similar to ultramarine blue, but it really is not that similar to ultramarine blue. That's the biggest bummer, is there's just some things you can't really capture in camera.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you knew going in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm glad I was able to get it for you, because this was just, yeah. But I thought you would be super intrigued seeing it in person. So
yeah, it's kind of puzzling. I'm gonna keep saying it's a weird one because it is a weird one. In a way, I'm glad it's not a color that I'm just like absolutely in love with, because then I would have the problem of like, how do I get more? How do I justify every time I order it having to pre-order it and wait for it?
Right.
But
right.
I will also follow up probably in the paint box with how this reactivates after, like, I'll probably let it dry for a good week before I try reswatching it, and then knowing that the Kramer ones have some problems with reactivation after a month, I'll probably come back after a month as well. It'll be a shame though if it YInMn Blue's in here and I'm just stuck with it in this cute palette and I can't even use it.
Oh god. Yeah, that would suck, but I think that Qor's probably got a good hold on it. So, yeah.
I thought that about Daniel Smith.
Yeah, that's true.
Until I tried to reactivate it, and it was like, oh, it's a rock. It's a rock in here. It's dried clay. No, I'm hopeful that it behaves better than, and plus they're using a different binder, so it might react a little bit better than the Kramer binder.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
With voice chat audibly.
We got to do this again sometime.
Years ago, I tried to talk you into doing an art podcast with me. That offer still stands.
We both need the spoons for it.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I think spoons is like the biggest challenge.
Yup. So Dawn asked where you bought the paint, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the... Not the full thing, since it does include...
Yeah, so... Dawn, actually, are you in the are you in the paint box?
I think they are.
Okay. Then I will just. So I got it from Golden directly. But yeah, what I can do, I will tag you on Discord.
Ugh. Sorry, I'm not ugging you. The annoying thing
Oh yeah,
about
no.
YouTube is that I have to drop it in segments, and then if someone in the chat comments, it kind of breaks it up. I just
Yeah.
wish YouTube would allow the channel owner to drop paragraphs of text.
Yeah, and the thing is if you email them, they'll actually ask you for your contact information. So, yeah.
I'm gonna go check to see if it's available on Jackson's art. I'm just curious because, oh goodness, internet is being slow and pokey. YInMn Blue. I'm not. Okay, all right. So you can get it in oil and you can get it in acrylic on Jackson's, but not in watercolor. And you can also get it from, or you could get it from Kramer at one time. They might still. I just when I was doing my research for this, it wasn't available at the time, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. And then before I say goodbye, I will show you. These are the me being lazy. I didn't want to mix on my desktop, so it really does fall out of solution really quickly. So this is not a paint that you can expect to mix it up and then 10 minutes later after your wash is dried you can have the same mix and do. You have to like remix it or glaze it or glaze on top of it, or you have to use it as you're mixing it because it's going to fall out of solution really quickly, which makes sense because yttrium is a heavy metal.
It's heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Which is probably why it granulates so much. All right, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. This was a lot of fun. It was really neat to get to play with a new color and a whole new blue. That's like kind of mind-blowing. I'm still kind of like figuring it out over here, like a new blue. Crayola's Bluetiful, the color Bluetiful, is based off of YInMn Blue. So if you're in the US or if you have access to Crayola and you want to see what this color looks like in person, Bluetiful is probably a way to get a feel for the color without spending $14 for a tube and figuring out if you like it. So if all things go well tomorrow night, I know I keep saying this and then life keeps popping up, but if all things go well tomorrow night, I would like to finally get around to painting the cultivated rose during our Friday night live stream. So cross your fingers that life doesn't throw any weird curveballs my way. And if you enjoy RPGs, if you like cats, if you want to feed stray cats, and if you want to help actual real life strays, please consider purchasing Clowderful. It is technically free, so it's pay what you want, but think of it as doing it for the kitties.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much, Kabocha, for joining us. This was a lot of fun. It's so much more fun having someone to like verbally talk to and respond back. I feel kind of lonely when I stream, honestly, because it's just the chat and me talking to myself. So it's a lot of fun getting someone else involved. And thank you guys for joining us. I am going to try to post color accurate photos in the paint box if you guys want to actually see what this looks like. Fingers crossed. All right, y'all have a good evening.
Good night.
Bye. Ending stream.